ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Today we will try to understand more about what is sacrifice. So far we have been discussing what is the soul from the Bhagavad-gita. Now something about sacrifice from the Bhagavad-gita. In the 3rd chapter, Krishna says, while describing what is karma yoga, yajñarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. This means work done as sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. Therefore, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain unattached and free from bondage. So Krishna is describing how we can do work such a way that we don't get bound up in this world. Any activity normally people do, depending on whether that activity is a pious activity or a sinful activity, there are reactions. Pious activities means good reactions and sinful activities means bad reactions. Pious activity means some enjoyment and in the future, and sinful activity means suffering in the future. So as opposed to these two kinds of activities, pious or sinful, there is a third kind of activity that Krishna is describing here as yajna. Yajna or sacrifice for Vishnu. Yajna means sacrifice for Vishnu. So if work is done as sacrifice for Vishnu, then there is no bondage, there is no reaction, there is no bondage. Therefore, Krishna is advising, instructing Arjuna, do your prescribed duties as sacrifice to Vishnu for Vishnu's satisfaction. And in that way, you will completely be unattached. You might have heard many times people say we should do our duty but without attachment to result. How is this possible? It is only possible if we perform work as sacrifice. So what is the significance of sacrifice to Vishnu that Krishna describes in the next verse? This is the 10th verse in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. Sahayagya praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadvam eshavot vishta kamaduk. It means in the beginning of creation, the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is the Lord of all creatures, he actually created generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna or sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you all desirable things. So whatever the human society requires, all our necessities are supplied if we perform sacrifice. That's the way this world is created. Then further Krishna says in the 11th verse of the 3rd chapter, Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantuvaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreya param avapsyatha. This means the devatas or the demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you. You means the human beings. Thus nourishing one another, there will be prosperity for all. But Krishna says, Ishtan bhogan hi vo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha tair dattan apradayebhyo yo bhunkte stena eva saha. Now the devatas, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, they supply all necessities. But anybody who enjoys these gifts, these supplies by the devatas, without offering them to the devatas in return, is certainly a thief. So Srila Prabhupada explains, what does this mean? The devatas are supplying agents on behalf of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, one should perform the prescribed sacrifices or duties mentioned in the Vedas, and through the devatas, actually all these sacrifices ultimately are meant for pleasing Vishnu, pleasing the Supreme Lord. Now, if somebody does not do sacrifice but takes whatever is given by the devatas, then such a person actually is considered to be a thief. Stena eva saha. So, just like a thief is punishable by state laws, similarly, somebody who takes all the supplies by the devatas and does not actually offer in return through sacrifice to the Supreme Lord or through sacrifice to the devatas, such a person will be punishable. So, in the Vedic system, every householder has to do 5 kinds of sacrifice. The 5 kinds of sacrifice are described as Adhyapanam, Tarpanam, Homa, Bali, and Atiti Pujanam. We are obliged or we are obligated to 5 different categories of personalities. Where the moment we take birth as a human being, we have got some obligation to the demigods or devatas. So by offering oblations with ghee, devatas are satisfied. By studying the Vedas, we are satisfying the great sages who give us all knowledge. The devatas are supplying us with air and sunshine and moonshine and fire. All the devatas, different devatas supplying different necessities in that way. The sages are giving us all the knowledge that we are receiving. And the forefathers, we receive something from our ancestor or forefathers. So by offering water, tarpana, called tarpana, one is able to satisfy one's forefathers, and this is called Pitri Yajna, Deva Yajna, Rishi Yajna, Pitri Yajna, and by performing Bhuta Yajna, whatever benefits we take from general living beings other than humans. Just like we are dependent upon the bee for honey, we are dependent on the cow for milk, we are dependent on some agents which turn milk into curds, some bacteria, like they say, some lactic bacteria, lactose bacteria, whatever that is. So like that, we are dependent on so many other beings for our needs. So therefore, we have to perform what is called as Bhuta Yajna. And by properly receiving guests, Atiti Pujanam, one is able to perform Nri Yajna. Just like we are obligated in the society towards so many different categories of other human beings. We are living in a society. Just like everyone doesn't stitch their own cloth. We are dependent on a tailor for stitching the cloth. We are dependent upon a weaver for getting our supply of cloth. Or we are dependent on a farmer who grows cotton for getting the cotton itself, for producing the cloth, and the cloth is stitched according to our requirement by a tailor. So each one doesn't do growing cotton, weaving the cotton into yarn, producing yarn out of cotton, and then weaving that yarn into a cloth, and then stitching the cloth. Like this, you can understand we have so many different dependencies upon different other human beings in society. So we perform what is called as Nriyajna, and in that way we are able to clear our debt towards all these personalities. So the example is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam how Krishna, when he came 5,000 years back, when he incarnated, he was ruling in Dwaraka as the king. So he was performing all these 5 kinds of yajnas every day. Now Krishna has no need to perform these yajnas because he is the Supreme Lord, but to teach us by his own example, as an ideal householder, as a Kshatriya and as a Grihastha. There is something called Varnashrama Dharma. Varnashrama Dharma means there are rules and regulations for a civilized human being according to the Varna one belongs, according to the occupational classification. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. There are 4 different kinds of occupations for different categories of persons or people. So Krishna actually was ruling as the king, therefore he belongs to the Kshatriya class. And he was a Grihastha. There are 4 ashrama divisions: Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So Krishna was a Grihastha. So as a Kshatriya and as a Grihastha, Krishna used to perform these 5 types of yajna that is described in the Bhagavatam in the 10th canto by Shukadeva Goswami. When Shukadeva Goswami is describing Krishna's pastimes to Parikshit Maharaj, he describes how Krishna, as an ideal householder, he used to perform these 5 types of sacrifices. So the description is given that Lord Krishna, he would perform these activities, daily activities, so that these activities which are ideal duties of a householder should be followed by the general people. But we should remember, we cannot imitate Krishna in all his activities. Just like Krishna married 16,108 princesses, and therefore he had 16,108 queens. So it's not possible for anybody to imitate this act of Krishna. But we can definitely follow Krishna's activities in terms of his doing his daily duties. So Krishna used to lie down with his 16,108 queens. How would he do that? He would expand himself into 16,108 forms. That's possible only for Krishna because he is the Supreme Lord. He is Yogeshwara. He is a master of all mystic powers. So by his mystic power, he would expand into as many forms. He can expand into unlimited forms. So he would expand and he would actually enter each of the palaces of each of his queens. And then he would rise early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise. This time is called Brahma Muhurta, 3 hours before sunrise. So he would rise early in the morning, and by nature's arrangement, Srila Prabhupada says that the crowing of the cocks is the indication of Brahma Muhurta, beginning of Brahma Muhurta. So Srila Prabhupada says there's no need of alarm clock. As soon as the cocks crow in the morning, one should get up and actually begin the morning duties. So what would Krishna do? As soon as he would rise from bed 3 hours before sunrise, he would wash his mouth, hands and feet and would immediately sit down and meditate on himself. Now, this does not mean that we have to get up in the morning and after cleansing ourselves, we should meditate on ourselves. No, we should meditate on Krishna, or we should meditate on Radha Krishna. That is, Krishna is meditating on himself because he is the Supreme. So he's teaching us that we should meditate on the Supreme. That is real meditation. So there is no difference between meditating on Radha Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. So the recommended form of meditation on Radha Krishna in this age is to chant Hare Krishna. Hare refers to Radharani and Krishna refers to Krishna. So if you chant Hare Krishna, that is same as meditation on Radha Krishna. Then by such meditation, it is described, Krishna would feel very much satisfied. Similarly, we will also be satisfied and happy if we chant Hare Krishna early in the morning after rising at the time of Brahma Muhurta. Then after his meditation, Krishna would perform his regular bath, and then with clear sanctified water, he would take his bath, and then he would change into fresh clothing, and he would do his daily religious duties. Out of his many religious duties, the first one was to offer oblations into the sacrificial fire. This is the first kind of yajna, Deva Yajna. Deva Yajna. So he would then chant the Gayatri mantra. This is one of the duties of those who are belonging to the category called Dvija, twice born. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they undergo this purificatory ceremony. It's called samskara. The samskara of Upanayana, by which they actually receive the Gayatri mantra from the spiritual master and every day chant the Gayatri mantra. This is for making spiritual advancement so that we can actually understand the supreme absolute truth as transcendental to this material creation. So it's for realizing the supreme. So therefore he would do Gayatri. One is supposed to do Gayatri mantra, japa. Krishna would do that. And then he would actually offer specific prayers to the sun god. Now, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He has no need to do all this, but he is doing it as an ideal householder. What an ideal householder should do, he is teaching by his personal example. So, the sun god and the other devatas mentioned in the Vedic scriptures are different limbs of the body of the Supreme Lord. And it is the duty of the householder to offer respects to the devatas and great sages as well as the forefathers. So Krishna would actually worship the devatas, beginning with the sun god, and he would then offer tarpana to the forefathers, and then he would actually offer different sacrifices for the different personalities, and then in this way Krishna would complete all the 5 kinds of sacrifices. His next duty was to give cows in charity to the Brahmanas, a Kshatriya especially, and Vaishya. They should give charity every day. So Krishna would give cows in charity to the Brahmanas. Dana, Godana. And how many cows would Krishna give? That is described in the Bhagavatam. He would give 107 groups of 13,084 cows. This is described specifically in the Bhagavatam. So he would give totally 14 lakh cows every day in charity to the Brahmanas. And the cows are described, they were decorated with a silken cloth, and they would be decorated with a pearl necklace. Their horns were covered with gold, and their hooves were covered with silver. All of them were full of milk due to having their firstborn calves with them, and they were very, very peaceful. And when the cows were given in, such cows were given in charity to the Brahmanas were also given nice silken garments, and each was given a deer skin and sufficient quantity of sesame seeds. Completely, perfectly, Krishna would actually carry out his duty of giving charity, cows and charity to the Brahmanas. Because Krishna is known as Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So he is especially interested in the welfare of the cows and the Brahmanas. Because protecting the cows and protecting the Brahmanas means that is the way of actually maintaining the Vedic culture. So Vedic culture is meant for spiritual advancement of the entire society. So therefore Krishna used to set an example. Krishna has set the example by himself giving cows in charity. Then, wishing the welfare of all, Krishna would actually touch auspicious articles like milk, honey, ghee, gold, jewels, fire. Although the Supreme Lord is very beautiful by nature, still he would dress himself in nice garments, and he would wear nice flower garlands. He would wear his necklace of Kaustuba jewels. He would smear his body with pulp of sandalwood and decorate himself with other ornaments. But it is described, we should always remember, that Krishna was not beautified by the ornaments he would wear. Rather, the ornaments themselves became beautiful upon being placed on the transcendental form of Lord Krishna. So, Krishna is not getting beautified by the ornaments. It is the ornaments which become beautified by being placed on Krishna's form. So, there is a difference. Whenever a human being or anybody of this world, they wear an ornament that enhances their beauty. But when Krishna wears an ornament, it is for the ornament to become beautified. Then Krishna would actually give darshan to those who would come to see him in the morning. So many Brahmanas would come to have darshan of Krishna, those who were living in Dwarka, and they were anxious to see him, so he welcomed them. His next duty was to please all kinds of people belonging to different categories, all the varnas. So within the city and within the palace compound, whoever came to have darshan of Krishna, he made them happy by fulfilling their different desires. And when the Lord saw everyone was happy, he himself was very much pleased. So this is spiritual life. Spiritual life means everyone, all the devotees, they try to please Krishna, and Krishna tries to please the devotees. This way, each one trying to please the other, they become happy. This is actually the our real position, that we are meant to please Krishna, and Krishna is meant to Krishna, of course, reciprocally always simply does not accept service, but he in turn pleases the devotees or the living beings. So this way, Krishna, he perform his daily duties without fail every single day after rising early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise. So this is to set an example for us that we should do the daily duties as recommended in the scriptures. Now, in this Kali Yuga, the scriptures explain, for householders particularly, it is very difficult to perform this Panchamahayajna, these 5 kinds of sacrifices to the Devatas, sacrifices to the Rishis, sacrifices to the general living beings, etc. So it is recommended, in place of this Panchamahayajna, one should perform Sankirtan Yajna. In the Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Krishna Varnam Pisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Praye Yajantihi Sumedasaha. One can worship the Supreme Lord in his incarnation as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself in Kali Yuga, simply by performing Sankirtan Yajna. So Sankirtan Yajna consists of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra in two ways. One is chanting in the form of japa. That is, one should individually chant and hear the Hare Krishna mantra personally. And then we can perform Sankirtan Yajna by participating in Kirtan. Kirtan means singing with a melody the Hare Krishna mantra. And in that way also we can perform Sankirtan Yajna. Of course, Sankirtana actually means congregational chanting. In a group, family members can get together, or in a community or in a temple, anywhere people can gather together and one person leads the singing of the Hare Krishna mantra and others follow in response. So this is called Sankirtana. So this Sankirtan Yajna is the easiest way of performing our daily duty of sacrifice to Vishnu. And this doesn't require any expenditure. It doesn't require any elaborate arrangements. So it is the easiest, most practical, and certainly the most recommended form of sacrifice for all of us. So therefore, it is explained by Srila Prabhupada that we cannot do the Panchamaha Yajna. Therefore, in this age, Kali Yuga, Kalautad Hari Kirtana, Bhagavatam also recommends in Kali Yuga, one should perform Hari Kirtana or Sankirtan Yajna. Now I shall answer some questions from yesterday's session. The first question that is there, if the Mayavadis say that each soul has come from superior soul and they don't give the superior soul a form, they say it's formless, then what is the form and size of the superior soul that they refer to? Now actually the superior soul or the supreme soul is Krishna. Krishna has his transcendental form and his form is actually unlimited, but still he is present in his form in the spiritual world in different manifestations as Krishna, as Balaram, as Narayana, as Vasudeva, as Sankarshana, so many different expansions. Krishna with his different expansions, he is present in the spiritual world as the Lord. Each of the spiritual planets is present as the Lord. But the Mayavadis, they ultimately say there is only one soul which is formless, and that is the only soul that is in existence. And there is nothing other than that one soul, supreme soul or supreme absolute truth. And that is simply, they describe that as Brahman, impersonal Brahman, formless Brahman. And they wrongly consider each living being as identical with that Brahman, with that formless Brahman, with that formless absolute truth, with this formless supreme soul or supreme Lord or whatever. So this is their misconception, this is their misunderstanding actually. Actually in the spiritual world, the Supreme Lord is present as a Supreme Soul and all the living beings are present as individual souls. In this world also there are individual souls. Every living being is individual soul. But in this world, the living beings are entrapped in different bodies. That's the difference. In this world, we are trapped in a material body. In the spiritual world, those living beings who are liberated souls, who are devotees, they are having their spiritual form and they are engaged in devotional service to Krishna or Narayana, the Supreme Lord, in the spiritual world. Next question. Can you please explain the terms plenary and primary expansions of the Supreme Lord? This is explained by Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad-gita, that there are, what is the meaning of primary expansion of the Supreme Lord? Supreme Lord Krishna has got two kinds of expansions called primary expansion and secondary expansion. The primary expansions Supreme Lord are the expansions of his own spiritual transcendental form. Just like Krishna expands as Balaram, Narayana, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Narasimha, Varaha, Vamana. So many different forms. All these forms are Krishna himself, the Supreme Person himself, God himself. But in different forms, he performs different pastimes. He expands into those forms for the sake of his devotees who relate with him, who connect with him in that particular form because they serve him in that form. Just like Prahlad. Prahlad relates with the Supreme Lord in the form of Narasimha. Hanuman is a devotee who relates with the Supreme Lord in the form of Rama. So Narasimha, Rama, all these are forms of the Supreme Lord only. But these are different forms in the sense that the Supreme Lord is not limited by one form. He is present simultaneously in millions of forms called incarnations or expansions. So these are the primary expansions. Krishna and Rama, there is no difference in the power, there is no difference in the potencies. But Krishna reciprocates with his devotees in the form of Krishna, and Rama reciprocates with his devotees in the form of Rama. Just like if you study Ramayana, you can read about Rama's devotees, so many different varieties of devotees, so many different categories of devotees, so many different numbers of devotees. They have unlimited devotees. In each category, they have unlimited devotees. So, in different forms. So, like that, the Supreme Lord, as in different forms, primary expansion. Then the secondary expansion of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, is called the living being, the Jiva soul, this individual souls. They are also expansions, but they are tiny, separated expansions. They are separate from the Lord. Now, the primary expansion of the Lord are the Lord himself, none different from the Lord. One person. The Lord, Supreme Lord, is one person. Even though present in so many forms as Rama, Narasimha, Varaha, Balaram, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, all these forms are multiple forms, but it is one Lord, one Supreme Lord, one person. There's only one person. Ekameva Advitiya. God is one, and there is no second God there. There's only one God. But he is simultaneously present in different forms for different pastimes, for different devotees, for different purposes. So, the primary expansions are God himself, but the secondary expansions are the innumerable living beings, unlimited number of living beings, countless living beings. They are all very tiny, separated expansions. So, they are very, very, very tiny. And the living beings are having a very, very insignificant portion of some of the qualities of the Supreme Lord. And the living beings are also spiritual by nature, just like the Supreme Lord is spiritual by nature. The living beings are conscious, just like the Supreme Lord himself is conscious. But our consciousness is very, very limited. Just limited consciousness, limited qualities, limited power, very, very limited power. Whereas Krishna or any of his primary expansions, Rama, Narasimha, they are unlimited personalities, they are unlimitedly powerful, They are unlimitedly unlimited in every respect. Their consciousness is spread everywhere. But they are all one person. They are not different persons. They act as different persons, but they are one person, God. So, primary expansion is the Lord Himself in His different incarnations, and the secondary expansions are all the living beings. Now, what is plenary expansion? Plenary expansion means the primary expansion. Plenary expansion means the Supreme Lord, when He expands, the expanded form has got the same power as the original form. Just like Krishna and Rama. Rama's powers are same as Krishna's powers. Rama's powers are same as Krishna's powers. So Krishna's power does not diminish when he expands in his primary expansions. Krishna does not diminish in his power or potency. So he's got the full powers in all his primary expansions. So those primary expansions are also called plenary expansions. Plenary means with full power. Whereas the living beings are not plenary expansions. They're separated expansions. So living beings are very tiny amount of power of Krishna. Very small quantity of power. The next question. What is the difference between akarma and nishkama karma yoga? Akarma means devotional service. Akarma means performing activities of devotion to Krishna. Akarma means those activities where there is no reaction. So only devotional service, if we do, then there is no reaction. Whereas Nishkama Karma Yoga is one way of performing Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the beginning in the yoga ladder. There are 4 types of yoga principally described in the Bhagavad-gita. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So Karma Yoga is the yoga of action. Jnana Yoga is the yoga of knowledge. Ashtanga Yoga is the yoga of meditation, and Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion. Now these 4 yoga systems described in the Bhagavad-gita, for somebody who cannot directly take up Bhakti Yoga, they can progressively begin with Karma Yoga, and gradually from Karma Yoga they can go to Jnana Yoga, progress to Jnana Yoga, progress to Ashtanga Yoga, then progress to Bhakti Yoga. So those who cannot directly take up Bhakti Yoga, for them it is described that they have to begin with Karma Yoga. Now Karma Yoga can be of 2 types, Sakama Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga. Sakama Karma Yoga is they perform Karma Yoga but they desire something in return. They want some benefit. That's called Sakama Karma Yoga. And Nishkama Karma Yoga is the next advanced stage where one sacrifices or renounces the results of the yoga practice. That's called Nishkama Karma Yoga. So that way one makes progress. So the 2 are different. Nishkama Karma Yoga is the lower level of yoga practice or the beginning of yoga practice. Whereas Akarma is devotional service or bhakti, which is the most advanced stage of practicing yoga. Last question. If a soul disconnects with the particular body once departed, what is the use of offering pinda or performing shraddha for the departed soul? Yes, there is this recommendation of performing shraddha for a departed soul as a duty of a descendant. Just like if I perform shraddha for my departed father, then it is my duty to do it because I have received so much from him. He has actually raised me. He has actually given me this body in combination with my mother, and then he has given me he has raised me. He has maintained me. I received so many things from him. So the scriptures say I have got a duty towards my parents. So one of the duties is to perform the shraddha. So how will the shraddha benefit the departed soul, even though disconnect from the body? It is because when I perform Shraddha, actually what am I doing? I am offering Vishnu Prasad to the departed soul. Thereby, by offering that Vishnu Prasad to the departed soul in the form of Shraddha ceremony or Pinda Pradana, actually that departed soul will get spiritual benefit. So, having received so much from my father or from my parents, if I perform Shraddha, then I am benefiting, I am giving something in return to my father as a gratitude. So this is called a duty. Now if somebody becomes a devotee and performs devotional service to Krishna, then it is described in the Bhagavatam, there is no need to separately perform the Shraddha. There is no need to perform separately Shraddha for those who are engaged in performing devotional service to Krishna. Automatically, by performing devotional service to Krishna, one can actually satisfy all the others from whom we have taken benefit. Devatas or forefathers or one's own parents or other living beings. Everybody is satisfied simply by performing devotional service to Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.